I got asked to basically do a summary of the Secure Service Edge, which is a really, really awful thing to talk about. SSE, which sounds like a power company. But what we're trying to do here, and what Microsoft are trying to do, is solve a problem. We've always had this issue of how do I connect to my network when I'm not there? And with us all working from home so much, how do I get my laptop, my device, to access my file share, which is in the office? And we all know the traditional approach. Let's have a VPN. Let's have two VPN. Let's have lots of VPNs, and we'll have Cisco AnyConnect, and we'll have Pulse, and we'll have all of these VPNs, and you actually don't really have much control over it. But when you've got the VPN, you then have to think about, is this an intelligent VPN? Am I doing what the US people would like to call hairpinning? So data is going into your data center and then straight back out to the internet because everything goes over the VPN. I tend to call it tromboning because I think more in an English term, and tromboning is the same thing. Data is going out and back in. So what we need to do is actually think about this in a different way. We need to have that network stack available to us. Now, I know this isn't supposed to be a technical meeting. We're supposed to be doing things at a high level. But actually understanding a bit of the technical stuff around this is useful. People tend to think in terms of what they can see. So when I'm going to a web page, I'm looking through a browser and I'm looking at the content of the web page. And to get to that, I use a protocol called HTTP. Dead simple. HTTP is really good. It allows us to view things wherever we happen to be, and it's nice and easy to route. Unfortunately, I can't use it to access a file share. I can't use it to take over a server. I can't use it to control my Linux boxes or to control my firewalls or anything else. So actually, it's not that useful. What we need to do instead is find a better way of bringing us that control to where we happen to be. Back when I started in this industry years ago, there was no such thing as a networking protocol. The closest we got was giving somebody a floppy disk and making them run around the building delivering it. And since then, things have moved on. And we've had IPX, SPX, we've had all kinds of broadband protocols. But we seem to have settled on this wonderful thing called TCP/IP. And TCP/IP allows us to link things together and pass information in a variety of ways. And most people tend to think of it as TCP/IP. Actually, there's two protocols that are in use here. TCP and UDP. And we need both of them because not everything runs the same way. So what we're trying to do now is enable you to bring TCP and UDP to the laptop in your home office, in your dining room, in your bathroom if you're really daring. And that's what this is trying to do. We're trying to make sure that from wherever you happen to be, you can gain access to the services that you need and do it in a very, very quick and easy way. We also need to keep it secure though, because there's no point in having really, really good access if everybody can see what you're doing. We don't want people shoulder surfing us. We don't want them looking at our data as it moves around. Microsoft have one of the largest worldwide data networks, and it's fast, which is great if we can use it. So what Microsoft are doing is they are going to enable us to connect from where we are sitting now to the closest point in the Microsoft network. From there, we will route through the Microsoft network to wherever the data is that we're accessing. Now that could be in your data center. It could be in Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, Exchange Online. Or it could be sitting in Box or Dropbox on the internet. We don't know. We don't mind. But we're going to manage it. And we're going to keep this secure. And we're going to keep it secure by making sure that you are who we think you are, and you're using a device that is as good as we think it should be. And all of that starts to get really, really complicated. And this diagram shows it really complicated. And I'd like to just simplify that a bit. This is my version of the same diagram. It's a little bit easier. Over on the left-hand side, we've got the user who's sitting on their device. I haven't put the device in because it doesn't matter. It can be an iPhone, an Android, anything you like. It can even be an Xbox, a PlayStation 3, anything that has the tools that we need. We then connect to my diagram of a tunnel. Yes, that is supposed to be a tunnel. It's got an entrance and an exit and dark stuff in between. The tunnel takes us onto the Microsoft network, which sits in the middle. And at the other end, I have another tunnel. And this tunnel takes me to wherever I'm going. So here I've got file servers, SSH, remote desktops, applications, file shares, internet sites, whatever it might be. And by using this outer tunnel and inner tunnel, I can actually start to get some control, some understanding of exactly how I'm doing this and how it's all going to work. But you'll notice I said secure, and security is key. So the fact that I've got a tunnel is not enough. We need a little bit more than that. So I'm going to put a guard in front of the tunnel. Now, when I say the tunnel, we've got two. So actually, I'm going to put a guard in front of both of them. This guard is using stuff that you already do today. So a little question for you, a show of hands. How many people here are already using conditional access for accessing their environment? Yeah, everybody, pretty much. And why? Because it's easy, because it makes sense. Conditional access allows us to say, you must be Andy. You're using a good laptop today, it's compliant. You're accessing an application that we know and we support, and you're supposed to be accessing it. On you go. Absolutely fine. On the day that Andy, however, has forgotten his laptop and he's gone into an internet cafe and he's trying to sign in through a browser, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to allow that because that's outside of our security policies. This bloke, who's making a vain effort at stopping the high-speed train going through the tunnel because it's just going to roll through, he's there making sure that the policies are adhered to. Now that's great as far as it goes, but we need a bit more. Andy, for instance, sorry to pick on you all the time, but you are in the front row. He's been looking at this application for a while. He signed in at 9 o'clock this morning. Since then, he's done a few meetings. The application is still signed in. He's had a reminder that actually he needs to change his password. So he's gone off and he's changed his password in the cloud. But he's still signed into the application. Well, hang on a minute. He signed into the application with his old password, and he's had to change it because potentially his account has been breached. So should I still keep him in? Should we still keep him in that application? Well, the simple answer is no, we shouldn't. We should get him to prove again that he is still Andy. Within conditional access, there is a relatively new piece of technology which is checking continually that you're still allowed to do something. And it's continual access. By validating that and looking at what's going on with Andy's account, we can understand that actually we need to revalidate him now. Not in 10 minutes, and not getting always to do an MFA, but just to do that revalidation straight away. And there's a few different events that can actually kick off CAE. A change of password. Because when you change your password, you actually need to be revalidated. We don't want you to be able to sign in still. If you change your device, we should be doing that. Although quite how you manage to change your device is another matter. If you change your location, started off in Starbucks, signed into the BT Open Zone, it was all good. Now I've come into the office and I've come to the Kocho wireless network. Okay, you've moved. So I'm going to do it again. We will revalidate you. And this continual access evaluation makes this so much more secure than anything else. But what we're talking about here is not just having that ability to say you can get onto the network. I can be a lot more specific. If I want you to get into SharePoint, I'll drive you through this. If you're going to something else, I'll just let you go direct. Go to Box and Dropbox, they're direct. SharePoint, go through this. So we can be really clear. I can set it up in a way that the IT department can get full control of their network. But only the IT department can use that. Everybody else has to go to the individual applications. So this all becomes a way of making sure that we can access the systems correctly. Another little question for you. How many people use RDP to connect to a file server when you're doing any kind of maintenance? Happens all the time, yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if you did an MFA on the RDP session, which you can't do with Microsoft? It's just not there. There is no functionality anymore to allow you to say, you're connecting to the server, we want to do an MFA. This will allow me to RDP, and because I have to authenticate against conditional access, I can do an MFA. I can do the same for SSH. So if I'm going into a Linux box, I can still have that extra security. I can do this against internet sites. So if you want to go to Salesforce, if you want to go to ServiceNow, Concur, I can put the same controls on it. So this technology is all new. It's all coming out very, very quickly. Today, you can do this against Microsoft 365. So you can actually put together a proof of concept on this now for access to SharePoint Online, for your Teams, for your Exchange Online. Very soon, we will have the private piece. That will enable you to connect to your internal network over TCP and UDP to do everything you want to do. Following that, we'll then have the internet version. So instead of using Zscaler, which I hate at that word, instead of using Zscaler, you'll be able to use this as a way of controlling the access to those internet sites that you want to protect and make sure that people can't drive by. We believe, and it's not been put in writing yet, which is why it's a believe, that the access to the Office 365 pieces will be included in the E3 license stack. So there will be no extra cost. Can't believe I actually said that out loud, but it's true. We do not yet know how it's going to work for the private and for the other systems, but we know it's coming. And we're hoping that by February of next year, this will all have been fully announced and it will all be generally available, and we'll be deploying it to your systems to make sure that they are as secure and safe as we can make them. And with that, I'm going to finish slightly early, which is a bit of a shock.